I remember the Lord telling me that it was very selfish of me to want to take my life after I had put myself in that situation with my poor decision making. And I was living in the consequences of sin. I was living in the death that sin is associated with. And I went back to my apartment and the Lord told me to shut the door, go into my room. I was home alone and He told me to shut the door, and I prostrated myself in my bedroom. And the Lord told me to confess everything that had gone on in my life. And I went as far back as 17 years old when I started drinking and doing cocaine. And I just kept going, saying, God, I remember I did this and I did this, and this is what I was doing. I was lying over here. I was trying to manipulate this over here, and this is what I thought was happening. And every time I tried to blame somebody else for something that was happening to me, I felt the Lord say to me, no, 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 no. Just you. Just talk to me about you. Just tell me what you've done. And I said, this happened. And, and then my ex-wife did this. And anytime I went away, took the focus away from something that I did through my own actions, the Lord kept me right on track. And what I ended up identifying was that I had major character flaws. What I ended up identifying is that my addiction was the cause of really all of the problems that I was having in my life at that moment. It's amazing how when you focus on yourself, the things that God can reveal to you. I left out of the living room, out of my bedroom, and I went and I sat on the couch. And I was still very broken. I was still suicidal. I was crying. And Jesus Christ showed up in my living room. And I saw a cloud. And I saw a hand. And the hand kept drawing a circle around my face. And I could see the tip of the Lord's hand. And it just was like in 3D. It was larger than the hand. And He just kept going like this around my face. And He said, Brian, I can help you. And I just remember crying and saying I didn't want to kill anybody. I didn't want to kill myself. And I was begging Him to help me. And He said, Brian, I can help you, but I can't help people in this condition. I don't work with people in this condition. He said, the devil's going to kill you if I try to use you in this condition. And I said, Lord, I've tried to quit so many times. I promised that I was going to quit drinking and doing drugs so many times. And why is it going to work now? How can you guarantee me that it's going to work? And I will never forget this conversation that I had with the Lord, because it was so authoritative. It was so authoritative. It was the Spirit of God. It was Him. And in the vision, He went across the street and He was leaning against the tree. And He said to me, come right here, Brian. Come right here. And He was pointing at His feet and He said, come to me. And that walk across the street was sobriety. And I said, Lord, I can't do it. And He said, it's going to work. And I said, why? And He said, because now I gave you my Spirit. And He said, now I gave you my Spirit and now it's going to work. And I ended up getting drunk and high one more time after that. That same night. And I woke up the next day and I was so sick. I was so sick. I was vomiting. I was just in so much pain and I just didn't want to live that life anymore. I didn't want to live like that anymore. And I just decided to make a change at that moment. I knew what the world was like. I never knew what it was serving God. I never knew what it was to be a true man of God. I never knew what it was to seek God in all His glory and turn away from my selfish desires. And I remember saying to God, I don't know, Lord, I don't know your word. You shut the mouths of lions. Like, how do you expect me to believe that? I don't know, you created the heavens and the earth. How do you expect me to believe that? And I just remember, I remember these events, they were clear as day. And I just remember going outside in one of those days and holding the Bible up to the sky and telling God that I was going to believe every word in his Bible, that I was going to believe everything that he said, that I was just going to accept it as if it was 100% true. And I decided to just start my life over. At that time, it was September 26 when I was delivered from the drugs and alcohol. And it's going to be almost 4 years since I've been sober. I don't have any desire to drink anymore, to do drugs. You know, God is still not finished with me. There's a lot of things that he's still working with me on, but I know now that was the head of the snake. Now I can continue in the sanctification process. After nursing school, I went into Bible school. I signed up at North Point Bible College. Now I've transferred to a different school, Southern New England School of Ministry, because what I've learned in my relationship with God, it literally is like a fire in my bones. I can't keep it contained, because the things that I've learned in the presence of God is so liberating. It's so liberating because the way that I feel right now, the way that I feel working for God, working for Jesus, the way that I feel being a Christian man is the way that I thought that I felt when I got drunk and I got high. But I realized that the reason why I was doing those things is because I was trying to fill a void in my life. The way that we were created by Jesus, we were designed so that nothing else can take his place in our lives. So that's why you see people getting multiple degrees and they're still not happy. That's why you see people that are billionaires and they're still not happy. Big house, you know, the pristine job. And it really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The only thing that can satisfy the life of a human is the love of God, is the love of the Father. And that's all I want to do now. That's all I want to do is just talk about the goodness of the Lord, not just so that people can know that he is good, but so that they can have an encounter with him and that they can see that addictive lifestyle, that sin, that it leads to death. But Jesus Christ comes, and he comes into our lives, and it really is a life more abundantly. And it's not an abundance of material things. It's just an abundance of joy. It's an abundance of love. It's an abundance of happiness. And you know what? Now, as I look back over my life, there were things that I was accomplishing that I didn't even realize, even in the mess that I was in, that I was able to, to have multiple degrees. I am an inventor. I invented Cathwear, which is a medical underwear designed for patients that require the use of leg bags. It's being sold across the earth now. I opened the business with a bunch of my friends from Lawrence. It's a patented design. I have another medical invention that I have that's a surgical clip that has almost 5 patents that's going to be sold across the earth. And these are all things that God did through me in my brokenness. So now I want to know, what else can God do through me now that I'm living under his righteousness? I have a great relationship with my children now. I have a son, my son that I mentioned that I live with. He essentially had 2 fathers. I used to drive with him in the car, 1 year old, with a bottle of Hennessy, 1 o'clock in the morning,